just assume that you had seen a quick glance back in 1903 of all the interstate highways, 290 million vehicles on the road in the United States, everything about it, and said, well, this is pretty easy. It's going to be cars. It's going to be autos. Well, we own a company called Marmon. We bought it from the Pritzker family some years ago. Pritzkers had built this business from many, many, many companies that they'd acquired. And the name of their company was Marmon. And I don't know exactly why Jay and Bob decided to name it Marmon, but they did own a company called Marmon. And the Marmon company had, getting slightly ahead of me on the slides again, but that's okay. We called they owned this company Marmon, which in 1911 had been the company whose car won the first Indianapolis 500. Maybe that's why they called it Marmon. They were proud of the fact that the company in 1911 won the first Indianapolis 500. It also was the company that invented the rearview mirror. I'm not sure whether that was a big contribution to society, and certainly around your household. Rearview mirror, you don't want to emphasize too much, but the car that was entered in the Indianapolis 500, the guy who normally sat next to the driver and looked backwards to tell what the competitors were doing, he was sick, so they invented the rearview mirror. So let's just assume that you decided that autos were this incredible thing, and someday there'd be an Indianapolis 500, and someday they'd have rearview mirrors on cars, and someday 290 million cars would be buzzing around the United States, or autos, or the county trucks there. And so I decided to look at the history, and I thought I'd put up a list of auto companies from over the years. And I was originally going to put up just the ones that were the M's so I could get them on one slide. But when I went to the M's, it went on and on and on. So I just decided to put up the ones that started with M-A. And as you can see, there were almost 40 companies that went into the auto business, just starting with M-A, including our Marmon there in the middle column, and which lasted for quite a while. But it was selling cars in the 1930s were really quite special. But in any event, there were at least 2,000 companies that entered the auto business because it clearly had this incredible future. And of course, you remember that in 2009, there were 3 left, 2 of which went bankrupt. So there is a lot more to picking stocks than figuring out what's going to be a wonderful industry in the future. The Maytag company put out a car. Allstate put out a car. DuPont put out a car. I mean, there was a Nebraska Motor Company. Everybody started car companies, just like everybody's starting something now that can be where you can get money from people. But there were very, very, very few people that picked the winner or got the opportunity. At Ford Motor, Henry Ford had a few partners, and he really didn't like them, so he figured a way to buy them out. That was sort of the beginning of the auto finance. That's a long story, but we won't get into that. But you couldn't buy into Ford Motor, and of course General Motors became the dominant company. Finally, when Henry Ford did not really make the shift from the Model T to the Model A.